everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Urvashi and I work as a professional trainer and I provide trainings in front-end development technologies, that is HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React.js and Redux. So welcome to the third video of JavaScript of Let's Crack It with Urvashi series. So in today's video, we are going to talk about data types in JavaScript. So we know there are two types of data types, primitive and non-primitive, and we have further categories in that. So that is what we are going to see in detail today. Not just that, we are going to see predefined methods and properties that we have inside these categories of data types. And before going to the video, I just want you all to know that I recently launched interview preparation material. So I've added the description below. Do check that out. Now let's get to the video. Hello everyone. In today's video, we are going to see what are data types in JavaScript, that is string, number, boolean, arrays and objects in JavaScript. So firstly, whatever the variables that we have declared till now in JavaScript hold some values. Now those values have some data types. So unlike as I said in other languages, you have data types like int, float. So when you declare a variable, you define that data type as well. But in JavaScript, you don't have to define any data type, where the moment you declare a variable and the way you assign a value defines the data type. So at that time, JavaScript understands the data type on its own. For example, we have seen string. When we declare a string, we include either single quotes or double quotes. So that means it's a string. And if you're declaring some digit value, that is, it is going to consider the number. So this is how it understands it's a number or a string or object or null or a boolean value. Let's take some real-time example. Let's say I have two containers. One container is A, another container is B. And one plastic container has salt and another plastic container has liquid. So both the container are the plastic containers. In one container I am adding A. In container A I am adding salt, which is in the form of powder, and in another container, that is B, I am adding the water, and the form of water is liquid. So basically I have two containers, both are plastic containers, and I am adding the data. That let's say I'm adding something inside it, which is salt and the water, and they have some data types. They have some type, that is powdered or the liquid. The same way your JavaScript variables work. So you declare a variable, you add some data inside it, they will hold some value, they will have some data types. The values that you add will have some data types. So JavaScript variables can hold many data types like numbers, strings, objects, functions, boolean, all these values. So on a higher note, you have two main data types, which is primitive and complex. Now all these string, number, boolean, undefined, null comes under primitive, and all your functions and objects, arrays comes under complex. Sometimes people call complex as non-primitive as well. And it is a saying in JavaScript, something which is not primitive. That means something which is not this data type, all are objects in JavaScript. It's a saying that we have in JavaScript. But majorly we have these two data types. So we are going to firstly start with the primitive data types. Definitely we are going to start with strings, then numbers, boolean, undefined and null. And then we are going to start with the complex or non-primitive data types. So firstly we have strings. So JavaScript strings are used for storing and manipulating text. Now text is nothing but the combination of alphabets, special characters or digits, which is inserted inside single quotes or double quotes. So we have seen this in variables and the operators videos as well, how you can declare a string, and we have seen a number as well. The beauty of JavaScript is that you don't have, just like other languages, you don't have different type of numbers. You just have one type of number that is going to be either with decimal or without decimal. So either you will have value like 10 or 10.20. That's it. You will not have something like integer, float, double, not all those type of values. And boolean value, the value that you have boolean is basically going to represent only two values. Either it is going to be true or it is going to be false. Either it is going to hold a true value or a false value. This is something, if you guys remember in operators video, you guys can compare. If you store that comparison operator in a variable, it is going to give you true or false. That is nothing but a boolean value it is going to store inside some variables. And definitely all these will have predefined methods and properties. I will tell you guys what are predefined methods and properties. Every data type, even if it's string, number, boolean, every data type have predefined methods and properties which we can use throughout our JavaScript code. Now let's go to the Visual Studio Code. So here I have created another folder, that is Datatypes, which has two files, that is index.html and Datatypes. Again, I have attached this Datatypes inside this HTML file. So here firstly we are going to start with the string data type. Now in this string data type, firstly we have, let's say, var. Let's consider some variables. Let's say first name, and we know we are going to follow the camel casing for our variables naming. Let's say Alina. And now let's say I have a variable, let's say last name. So I have two variables, first name and last name. Let's say gender. Your strings are immutable, that means they can not be changed, they can only be replaced. So if you write something like var first name equal to Elena, that means you can replace its value but you cannot change the value. So now we have some escape characters. Before we start with string, we have some backslash escape characters. Definitely we are going to use them a lot. So before actually getting into properties and methods of strings, let's see these. So I have, let's say, alert of, let's say, first name plus, let's say, last name. Now if I want to show first name and last name on different lines, okay, so let me just show them on the same line first. Simply I'm going to come here and going to run this. So here you can see both are coming together. Now if I want to show them on separate lines, simply just write plus in between, and in that just write backslash n. So they all come in string only. So here you can see Elena is coming on first name and gender on the another line. So you just used backslash n. So this is for next line. Now next we have alert of first name plus double backslash plus last name. That means if you want to add a single backslash, for backslash, if you want to add a backslash, simply we can use this. If we run this, you will see this, that is the first line, that's the, here you can see the single slash, that means that is another slash that you can add. Now the third alert box is going to be, let's say, first name plus you want to add a single quotes in between, so backslash single quote plus last name. So this will add the single quotes. So if I refresh, this is my first alert box, second, and this is my third. So here you can see single quote is added. So this is how you can have these backslash characters. Now let's start with the string. So these are like a utility which we are going to use throughout our JavaScript. Now let's start with the main. So firstly, I'm going to declare a string variable over here. Let's say I have var str is equal to, I'll add some string value here. So now this is very important that whatever you write inside single quotes or double quotes is called as a string. So your JavaScript will automatically understand it's a string or any other data type. So either you add single quotes or you can add double quotes as well. We prefer to go with single quotes just to make your code look more cleaner and uniform. Otherwise there is no compulsion on using single quotes or double quotes. So simply let's say I'm adding some string over here. Let's say front and development, then HTML, I'm just adding some random string, CSS are the basic technologies for frontend. Development. So simply added a string that front-end development, HTML, CSS, JavaScript are the basic technologies for the front-end development. Now, as I said, we have predefined methods and predefined properties inside this. That means I'm just going to do console.log. You guys can store it in a variable as well. It's your choice. I'm just doing console.log because there are so many properties. I'm going to show you guys one by one and the methods as well. Now simply the very first property we have is str. Just write the name dot the property name. Let's say the very first we have is length. So simply variable name, that is str, it's a string, so it's a string property dot length. So this will get you the length of the string. So this will get you the length of the string. So here simply, whenever you have something like the variable name dot length, these are predefined. Firstly, these are predefined. You are directly going to use them. So property is nothing but, you will understand what this property term later when you will do objects. But for now, you can consider something like these are predefined, which is given to us, which is going to return the length of the string over here. Let me do one thing. Let me just comment this. Otherwise, these alert boxes are going to come again and again. And we know how to add comments in JavaScript. We just have to include this // in the starting. And it is going to add the comments for you. Now right click here, go to inspect, because I've done all the coding inside this console. So you can see the 71 over here. So that means 71 is the length of my string over here. Now we have methods as well predefined. Just do console.log of string dot index of. So this index of is going to return the first occurrence of the specified text in a string. So here guys, you have to specify the text. Let's say I'm entering end over here. So if you guys see, end is here 1, and yeah, here it is twice. So it is twice, but it is going to return the index of the first occurrence. Our next question comes, what is index? So index is something which is an integer value, which is a whole number which starts from the 0. So the counting of length is start from 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. But index value counting always starts from 0. So it is going to say at 0th index you have F, at first index you have R, and so on. So from 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. So it is going to return the index of the E, the first letter, end. So it is going to come here, it is going to check 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So fifth is the place where end is starting. The first occurrence, it is going to return the index of that very word over there. So if I refresh, you guys can see 5, and that is the correct output. So now difference between property and method, if you guys have observed, at here you don't have any round braces. In methods are nothing but functions, you can say, and you always have round braces. Always in methods you will have round braces. Again, index of is a predefined method which is given to us by JavaScript, and this is very important that it always takes some parameter. So very first thing that you add here is called nothing but a parameter that you are adding. So basically you always have to add some parameter in this parameter, because you need to mention what what text, for a specific text you are looking the index for. Same way you have this, and definitely team, these all things comes with the practice. You guys need to practice. Even if you guys practice twice, definitely in future if you have a requirement where you have to use this, you are definitely going to remember this. Now here also it's a method. You have to define a text inside it. Let's say n. So it is going to return the last occurrence of the specified text in the string. So last occurrence is this. So it is going to return the index of the last occurrence. If I refresh, it is 64. So that means counting is starting from here only, 0, 1, 2, but the value is going to return from the end. So it is going to return the length of the first occurrence of the specified text, and here it is going to return the last occurrence, index of the last occurrence of the specified text. And team index value starts from 0. Count starts from 0. That means F is at 0th index. This is F from the starting of the string, that is this part. we have other methods as well, like we have console dot log of string dot search. So simply you can search for the value, just enter the value here, add the value here. Now it is also going to return you the index only, but the difference between this search and this index of is, so index of and search both give you the same output, but the difference between index and search is that index of can have second parameter as well. That means you can add comma and add some other value. Let's say you can add 10 here. That means it is going to search for this value after 10th index. That means once 10th index ending, let's say here, so it is going to search for that value after that. But in search you cannot have another parameter. It always takes one parameter only. So this is one parameter, comma, you add the second parameter. This is how you add parameters, first comma the second parameter. So this is very important, that search and index of return the same value, but if you add second parameter inside this index, it is going to search for this value, this text end, after the 10th index. It is going to start searching after the 10th index. So that's the difference. Now you will see the different output in both the cases. You will see 64 here because it started searching after 10, and I think 10th will fall somewhat here. So after that I think end is just here only, and here you will see the 5 now because it is going to look for the first occurrence only. Now we can have something like, let's say if you have var x equal to 10, and then you have, let's say, var equal y is equal to string of 10. So it will be something like, let's say, console.log of y slash x. So you guys must be wondering what it is going to return. So let's see. So it is going to return 1. So that means automatically it converted your this string to number while executing, and it returned you the number. So it automatically converted your string to number while doing this operation. Now if you guys know, we can compare the strings as well. The same way like we did for numbers, you can, if you have double equal to, it is going to compare for the value, and if it's triple equal to, it is going to compare for the value and the data type, just like this. So this is also very important. We have already seen that in the comparison operator. For example, if you compare these two, if with double equal to, it is going to return you true, but with triple equal to, it is going to return false. Next we have is the extraction of string. When I say extraction of strings, basically means you have existing string and you want to extract some part of it, and that extracted part is also going to be a string. So again, for that you have predefined methods. You guys don't have to do anything, you just have to use it. So just write console.log of string. I'm considering the same string dot slice. So now here is slice method. You pass two values. Even if you guys see the beauty of Visual Studio Code, if you hover over anything, you will understand what it takes and what it returns always. So this is the beauty. If you see any method, if you hover it, what it takes and what it returns, you will automatically get it. Even if you guys don't remember, initially while practicing you might find it little difficult to remember. Anyways, you can come back and see this video, or you can definitely make it a habit to hover over it. You will understand what it expects. Definitely takes two parameters, let's say 7, 30. So this basically means slice, cut my string from 7th till 13th. So it is going to return string starting from index. So team, this is nothing but index that I am passing. Index 7 till 12th. So second parameter -1. So from 7th till 12th, it is going to return me a string. So if we see the output, so here we can see we got the output. The same way we have string dot slice. Let's see if I pass just one parameter inside this, then it is going to return the complete string till the end. Starting from 7th till the end, it is going to return me the complete string. And then let's say I have console.log of string dot sub string. In that you can pass value. Let's say if you pass 3. So if I refresh, so here you will see you will get the complete string starting from 3. But the difference between slice and substring is that your substring can take negative values as well. It can consider negative values as well. So if you add -3, it is going to start searching for the string from the end. So if you pass -3, that means it is going to search for the string from the -3, that means from the end. Substring. Let's say if you add -11, so it is going to start from the end, cutting the string from the end. So this is how you guys can do it. The difference between substring is that if it's minus, then it is going to give you the starting from the string from the end. And then we have one more value, that is console.log of string.substr. Now substr is basically, it is going to give us a value, again a string. It is going to return string. You have to pass 2 parameters again. It's a 7, 10. So this basically means it is going to return the string from 7th till the length is 10. So that means it is going to start from 7 only till the time the count of the index is like plus 10, that means till 17 it is going to return you the value. That is from 7th plus 10 more characters it is going to select. So from 7th plus, it is, if you count here, it is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That means 10 characters. So the best way to remember is, always remember that the last second parameter you have passed plus the length of the return string has to be same, always. This is also you guys can remember. And in string team, even if you add spaces over here, it is going to consider that as characters. That means this is first, then it is going to consider this as your first character. If I refresh, all your resultants will be changed now. It is going to consider even these spaces are the strings. This is very important, that even the empty spaces are considered as the characters in the string. Now continuing with this, we have more methods like string dot replace all. That if you want to replace a value with some other value, let's say I want to replace end, comma, you pass 2 parameters, end, the first value you want to replace. Next is replace with, what value you want to replace with, let's say capital End. So it is going to replace all the string with this. So if I refresh, here you guys can see END small is replaced with capital END over here, everywhere. Now if you want to convert your string to uppercase, let's say string dot to uppercase. So simply, and the same thing goes for string dot to lowercase, like this. So if I see the output, you guys can see it's in uppercase and it's in lowercase completely. So this is how you can convert your string to uppercase and lowercase. Now if I have to consider some real-time example, you guys can consider something like when you do filtration. Let's say in Amazon you filter, let's say you're buying some books over there, you enter some genre, let's say comedy. So there, if you write something in capitals, as I said, JavaScript is a case sensitive language. If you're writing something in, let's say comedy like this, and then you're writing comedy, it is going to consider both the values as separate. So if you write comedy something like this and you're considering in the backend, while the comparison and all, it is considered comedy like this. So before that comparison, whatever the user has entered, you actually convert it to lowercase or uppercase in whatever manner you have, in whatever case you have compared the value. So that time this can be used. So while filtration, while you are asking user to enter some input, because you can't restrict what user is entering, but from our end we can restrict how we can make our logic better. So we have to consider all the cases being a developer, that if user is entering C capital small or C small or any other uppercase lowercase, so to avoid any bugs or errors in our code, so we have to consider. And luckily in string we have this uppercase and lowercase, so it is going to convert all a string into uppercase and all a string into lowercase over here. So now next we have console.log of string.trim. So this trim method is going to remove all the trailing and the leading spaces from your string. So this is my leading and the trailing spaces. It is going to remove all of it. So if I refresh, you guys can see, if you guys clearly see here, this is included, because here I am using uppercase and lowercase, and here I am using trim. That means in here you can't see this space in initial, that means it is removed. That means leading and trailing space is removed. Now here if I have to give any real-time example, let's say user is entering his or her name. So there they entered by mistake something like space and then they added Elena. Again it's an issue because it is going to take the data type as string. It is, and we know in string even in the initials the space is also considered as a character. So while actually once you capture the data from the user, you can simply trim it before actually storing it in your database. Then we can have console.log of, let's say if you want to have a character at specific index, let's say you have index at 10th index, you want some specific character. So let's say if I refresh, you can see D. So that means at index 10 we have the character that is, we have a character that is 10. So that means at index 10 we have D as the character. Now let's say console.log of string.character code add. So character code add basically means, let's say you will pass the character code, let's say 0. That means a sky value. If you guys have done HTML, you guys know it is going to return the Unicode at character at index 8. It is going to return the Unicode at index 0. And if you guys have done HTML, you guys know Unicode basically means the sky character is basically a sky character it is going to return. So if I refresh, you will see 132. That means the Unicode of the character at 0th index is 32. That means space, that is character. Space is also character, so Unicode value of that is 32. So these are the main, definitely you have more string methods as well, but these are the major and the most used ones that I've covered. Even if you remember these, you will definitely going to be able to crack the interviews if around these questions. And real time too, these are the main methods which are used in your application. Next data type we have is the numbers. So for that, let me just consider some numbers. Let's say var x equal to 10, and let's say var, by mistake, let's say I have y is equal to hello. And I've told you guys, if I have something in string and I have something in number, and this string is not a numeric, it's a non-numeric string. Numeric means the combination of numbers and digits, and non-numeric means combination of a special characters, strings, alphabets, something that is not digits. So that is, it's a non-numeric string. It's a string made from alphabets. So if you try to do something like console.log of x/y, so it is going to give you not a number. So if we refresh, it will give you not a number. So not a number basically means not a legal number. So it is basically considered not a legal number, not a number. So it is going to return you not a number. Because even if you guys logically see, you cannot divide 10 with some string which is a combination of alphabets. So it is going to give you not a number. Now again, number is also data type. We have predefined methods and properties. For example, if I want to convert my number to some string value, so I will simply going to say x, then value, that number, dot to string. That's it. So it is going to return me the string. Let's see the output. So here you guys can see 10. And in my system, blue color is basically going to be the numbers and this black color is string. So it's black, so that means it has to be a string. Now let's say I have console.log of x dot to exponential. Now this exponential takes one argument. Let's say I'm passing 2. So here this 2 basically defines how many characters digits you need after your decimal. So if I refresh, it is returning me a string only. It's a string value, X string exponential value. And if as you see, I got 2 over here. So if I pass 3, it is going to return output which will have 2 characters after your decimal. So if I refresh, you will see 3 over here. Now after this I have console.log of x dot to fixed. Now it is going to return string with specified number of decimals. Let's say if I pass 3, it is going to return me 3 decimal places. So after this you will have 3. The difference between fixed and the 2 exponential is its exponential value and it's a decimal value, and definitely these 3 are returning me strings. Then we have console.log of x dot to precision. Now x dot to precision is something where you again have to pass some value. So this is basically going to return string with specified length. If you pass 3, that means it is going to return me string x, and then it is going to give me string length has to be 3. Now how it compensates with the more number of characters, like here you have 2 characters, that means 2 values, 1 and 0, and here you have 3, that means you are expecting 3 length of the string. So it compensates with by adding the zeros. So if I refresh, you guys can see 0. Now let's say I add 6. So it is going to add more zeros after that. So total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it is going to see the digits value, that is has to be 6. And all these are returning me the string values. All these are returning me string. Now next thing is, if you want to convert your string to a number. So simply we have this number method. So simply it converts your string to number. This is very important. So let's say pass some string. Let's add x. Okay, x is a number. So let me pass some string. So team, this is very important. It has to be string. Should have a number. Otherwise, it is going to give you not a number. So it is giving me 90, which is blue. That means it's a number. If you do console.log of, let's say number of false, that means you are passing some boolean value, then it is going to return me a boolean value. Now boolean value for false is 0 and for true it's 1. So it is going to be 0. Then we can have something like console.log of parse int. Parse int is also important. Parse int basically returns the arguments. You pass some parameter, let's say 89.90. So you're going to convert this string to number, but it has to be going to return you some integer value. That means decimal part will vanish. So if you refresh, you guys can see 89. So here it is a integer value. That is without the decimal. Now you have the same way, you have parse float. Let's say I pass 80, so I pass 90.89 or 99. So simply it is going to parse argument and just return the floating point number. So if I refresh, you will get the exactly same value. So floating point number is, it always has some decimal places. Then you have one predefined max and min values. That means what is the maximum values you can have in a JavaScript and what is the minimum value you can have in a JavaScript. This is just for the knowledge base. Minimum values. And this number is again team, it's a predefined keyword. So this number is a keyword that I'm using. Like these are predefined methods, the same with this number is a predefined one that I'm using. I have not created it. So if I refresh, you guys will get this is the maximum value, this is the minimum value you can have in JavaScript. So this is about the numbers. Next data type we have is the Boolean. Boolean is something which is true or false. Let's say if I do something like console.log of 20 greater than 0. Let's say it's expression. We have seen such expressions in comparison operator that 20 greater than 0. So it is going to return true or false team. Let's see the output. So it is going to return me true. So it's a true value. Now let's say if you want to check the type. So this is what you have in Boolean. It returns true or false. You can store this value in some variable as well and then display it. This is what you have in Boolean. Now next thing comes if you want to check the type of some data. Type of some data over here, data value, you can check with the type of method. So for example, if I want to do something like console.log of type of, this is again predefined method, just pass the value inside it. Let's say type of, I want to check X. So if I refresh, you guys will see number. So this is the data type you get, that is number. X we have defined here, so it's a number only. So it's a correct output. Next data type we have is the undefined. Now undefined is also a data type. If you guys remember when we did variables, I mentioned one undefined value. That is what undefined is, that absent or unknown value. That basically means, let's say var num. So it's a variable num. So if I do something like console.log of num, so if I refresh, you guys will see undefined. That means the value is not defined. Now that is also a data type. And in fact, we guys can also check the type of undefined. The type is also undefined because if you don't know the value, how can you define the data type? So it is also undefined. So both the cases we will get undefined as the data type. So this is very simple, that whenever you don't have the defined value, you call it as undefined, because value is something which is equal to something you insert, which you don't have here. Next data type we have is null. Now null is something which is no value or empty value. No value or empty value. Now here simply I'm just going to say var, let's say y is equal to null. So the difference between, this is also important interview point of view, what is the difference between undefined and null? Difference is that in undefined you don't even have a value, variable doesn't even have a value. But in null, variable is defined plus it has a value. The value is null, which is fine, but it has some value. It has equal to null. That means it is having some value. So if you do console.log of y, if I refresh, you will get the null value. And if I do console.log of type of y, okay, type of, you will see, so here you will see the type of y is object. That means, in fact I told you guys this as well, that the type of this is going to be object. You have a value here, even if it's null, it's fine. Many times people get confused between undefined and null. This is very simple. Undefined doesn't have a value. Null, it's a null value, but it has some value, even if it's null. This is what you have in the undefined and null. So till now we have seen all the primitive data types that we have in JavaScript. Next important data types after primitive we have is the non-primitive. So we have seen primitive data types like string, boolean, numbers. Now next we have complex, or we can call it as non-primitive data types. So firstly we have arrays in it, and then we have objects. So arrays are basically going to be a variable where you can store multiple values. For example, currently we are storing 10, 20 data type number in a single variable. Let's say var x equal to 20. Now let's say I have 5 variables values, that is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So I can store all of those 5 values in a single variable in the form of array. If I have 5 string values, I can store all those 5 values in a single variable. That is what we call arrays. So array is going to be a special variable which can hold more than one value at a time. So you can think of arrays like a collection of data, collection of multiple values inside a single variable. Definitely we are going to see through code how it looks. Then we have objects. Objects are nothing but again a collection where you have multiple data coming inside a single variable. But here we have key value pairs. Just like in arrays, we have a term called index that we are going to see in Visual Studio Code. In the same way, in objects, we have key value pairs. So this is just one example that how you can create an object. Definitely, we are going to study in detail how to create an object. So let's go to the Visual Studio Code. Now, next data type we have is the objects. Again, we are start with non-primitive, or you can call it as complex data types. Objects are like a building blocks in JavaScript. This is very important topics. All our advanced technologies like React.js, Vue.js have this objects in major portion, objects and arrays. So you guys have to be very comfortable with them. So this is how you create an object. You add the var keyword, then the object name is equal to curly braces. So this is a syntax, var space variable name equal to. So this part is something I think you guys are very familiar with by now. Equal to, you will have curly braces. Here you have property and value pairs. So in objects you have value, property and value pairs. This is what you have here. Secondly, you can call it as key and value pairs as well. We generally call it as property and value pairs only. So variable person is equal to this. So this is how you add a property. Let's say first name colon, let's say Elena. Then you can have comma, then you add the second value, that is age, let's say 20. Then you add comma, let's say designation, let's say developer. So all these values that you were creating, something like var y is equal to this, var first name, last name, you are clubbing all those values together inside one structure, that is a object. So these curly braces, something that defines the object, and the way you add data inside it is property and value. So this, even if you hover over it, you will see it's a property and it's a value. So you write something like this first name colon the value, age colon value, designation colon value. This is how you create an object. Next thing is, now I have created an object. What is the use, like how I am going to use these values of this object? Simply, this is how you access these values. Let's say person, if it's a property team, if you see it's a property, just write person dot the person, the name of the object, dot first name. That's it. In fact, if you guys just do console dot log of person dot first name, this will give you the value of, that is Elena. Now if I want to have, let's say console dot log of person dot age, this is what will give us the value, that is 20, that is age. So this is how you guys can have access these. Now I told you guys that whatever these properties methods that I'm doing here in primitive, I will explain you guys when we will do objects. Now if you guys clearly observe, it's object and then these are the properties that it has. Now if you guys compare these, string is also like object. All these are the properties of it. That means in the back end it must be something like var. So when you write string, it is something like this. Its string will have some methods like length and let's say like this. It has some properties, methods, let's say index of. I mean, this is how you guys can imagine it's working. When I say property, throughout JavaScript, when I say property, that means I mean this part, this property. Now in this you can have method as well. Right now I'm not creating a method because you guys might get confused, because function is something we are going to do in future videos. But for now, understand at least this property part, that property, this length property that is coming here, I'm able to access. That means string, when you write this var string is equal to this, that means you are kind of creating an object which is a copy that you're creating, which is already there in JavaScript, and simply you're using a property of it, that is a length property. This is how you can remember. Even if you see number is object, dot max value has its property. Wherever you write something like this, dot something, that means the previous value has to be an object every time. So this number is also an object, a dot max value, it's its property. Now number of this is also working as a method as well. So this is how you guys can compare. You guys can remember that this is how you can create an object. So this is the way you create an object, and this is the way you can access its value and display it. And whatever you were writing here in the form of properties methods, these are nothing but the properties and methods of some object that is nothing but a string object. So this is how you can create. That means you have predefined methods properties of this object, plus you are able to create your own object and your own properties as well. And the data type is very important thing for all the types. So type of person is going to be object. So the data type of object is always object. This is very important. So this is how you guys can create the objects and access their values. So after objects we have arrays. As I said, arrays is going to be a collection of data where you can store multiple values inside a single variable. So let me create an array. So this is how you create an array, where variable name is equal to square brackets, and in that you add the values. So let's say I'm creating an array of colors. Data type is going to be string, so we call it as array of string. So if they would have numbers, so we call it as array of numbers. Let's say pink, black, blue, white. These are known as array elements. So all these pink, blue, white are known as array elements, and we call it as array of string. So this is my first array. Now let's say if I create where num equal to 10, 67, 87, just add some numbers inside it. So this is known as array of number, because this time we have numbers inside an array. And this is a way you can recognize it's an array or not by looking at this square brackets. Just like in objects we have curly braces, in arrays we have square brackets. So if you have to access any data, any element of this array, this is how we can do. Just write the color, that is the array name, square brackets, and in this we actually add the index value. Now index value is basically to access these array elements, we have index for every element, and that indexing starts from 0. So pink is at 0th index, black is at first index, blue is at second index, and white is at third index. So this is how we can recognize how many index values are there. So starting from 0, so 0th, let's say if I write 0th, so that means color of 0 is going to be pink. If I write let's say 2, so 0, 1, 2, so color of 2 is going to be blue. So let's see this in the browser. If I inspect, so here you can see blue. That means color of 2 is blue. Now we have methods just like we had for string numbers. For example, let me just say console.log of color.length. So this will fetch the length of your array. Then we can check the type of. What is the type of array? Let's see the values in the browser. So the length is 4 because counting starts from 1. So there are 4 elements. So 4 is the length. Number of elements is equal to number of length. And index is number of length minus 1. That is the total indexes are there inside the array. Surprisingly, the data type of array is also object. Data type of object is also object, and data type of array is also object. So that basically means indirectly we can say something that is not primitive is actually a object only in JavaScript. Now next question comes, now if how can we verify that it's an array or not? Like for string, number, object, we have this data type, right? Type of method. But for arrays, if it's coming object, how are we going to verify that it's an object or an array? So simply for that we have a method that is array dot is array. So we have this is array method to check it's array or not. So we are going to pass the array. So num is also an array. So I'm just passing this num over here. Let's see the output. So if it's true, that means it's an array. Even if it's not array, it will return you false. So this is how we can verify it's array or not. Now next thing we have is how can we convert array to string. So we have these methods over here, predefined methods just like we had for numbers, strings, the same way we have for these arrays. So I will just say console.log of color dot to string. That means I want to convert my array to a string. Next thing comes, there's a one more method that is called join. Yeah. So the difference between toString and join is that toString will separate your string with comma separated, and if you want to have some different separator, let's say star in between, so we can simply pass that over here as a string inside this parameters. Now let's see the output. So here you will see comma separated by default, and if you want to add some other separator, you can add. So this is a string now. Added to a string, this will be treated as string now. Next method we have is push and pop. So in this push and pop, basically we actually pop the element. That means we can remove an element. So pop is basically remove last element from an array. So now to see the output, I will just say console.log of color. So here you can see pink, black, blue. So that means the last element that was white, that is not present here now, because it is removed, that is pop, to remove the last element from an array. Similar way we have push. Push basically means to add an element in an array. So push is going to help us to add new element at the end of the array. So definitely if you want to add some new element, you need to add a color as well. So let's say I will add yellow color over here. Now I will just going to console.log so that we can see that we are getting the correct output or not. That's it. So here we can see yellow color is added in the end. After push and pop, we have shift and unshift. Similar to push and pop, the only difference is here we were working around with the last elements. Here we are going to work around with the first element. So shift is basically used to remove element from the start of the array, and unshift is used to add a new element at the start of an array. So I will just say color dot shift, and simply we are going to say console.log of color, and then we are going to say color dot unshift, and definitely as I said we are going to add new elements, so you need to pass some data over here. Since it's an array of string, so I'm going to pass some string. Now if I want to add some element, let's say violet color, I'm going to add here, and I will say console.log of color. That's it. Let's see the output. So here you can see pink is removed and here violet is added. This is how you can remove and add the new colors in the starting and the end of an array. Now next question comes, if we can add an element or delete an element from the starting and the end, then we should be allowed to add or delete something in the middle of an array as well. This type of condition can also come. So simply, firstly I'm going to tell you guys a way. Let's say I want to delete something from between. So I will simply say, let's say delete color of, let's say 1. And if I do console.log of color, let's see the output. So here we can see it is coming empty. Empty basically means it is undefined. So this is the disadvantage of using this delete keyword, because this will actually create a undefined or a white space in an array. So that is the reason we don't prefer using this delete keyword. Instead, we use splice method to do so. So avoid using this. Instead, I'm going to add splice method. So this will allow me to add and remove element in between of an array. So let's say color dot splice. Just like these are methods, these are array methods. So definitely array name dot method. In that, now you have to pass the value, basically the place from where you want to delete. Let's say you want to delete from first position. Then you want to add the delete count. That means from first position I want to delete 2 elements. Right? Next comes, when you're deleting 2 elements, what new elements you want to add at that place. Let's say I will add new colors. Let's say white and orange. So basically first parameter is from where you want to delete, and let's say I want to delete from first index. These are the index value that we are passing here, all these index values. I want to delete the index 1. From index 1, how many elements? I want to delete 2 elements. That means index 1 and index 2, 2 elements will be deleted after this. And when I'm deleting these, how many new elements I want to add? It's your choice. If you want to avoid this, you can ignore these as well. So this will just going to delete it. But for now, let me just add something. So it is console.log of color. Now if I refresh, you guys can see violet, white, orange and yellow. From first and second, these 2 colors are added. And this is what we wanted. So using splice, we can add and delete an elements between of an array. And first is compulsory and second is compulsory, that you really have to mention, otherwise you will never know. Otherwise you will never know how many elements from which that place you want to delete, but these are optional. Now we have concatenation of arrays as well. Let's say if you want to concat 2 arrays. So for that, simply just say var array equal to first array, let's say color dot concat. So we have a concat method, and the second array, that is now. So these 2 arrays will be merged together. So that means these 2 will be converted together inside a single array. So I will just say console.log of array. Now if I refresh, you can see, now you can see this will have all these elements in one array, single array. Okay, so this is how you can create a array by concatenating 2 arrays. Next we have extraction of array. That means if we want to extract the array from an existing array, so for that we can use the slice method. So let's say var extract, let's say extracted array. I'm just giving a variable name, color dot slice. That means I want to cut my array. Let's say you just have to pass 2 parameters. First is going to be the start of the index and second is going to be the end of the index. Let's say 3. So start index is 1 and 3, that is the second index you want to pass. So it is going to start from 1. So it is going to fetch the array from index 1 till whatever the second parameter you are passing minus 1. That means first and second index from that array will be fetched. Let's say I said 1. That means this is my array. So first index will come, second will come. Now 3 minus 1. So till 2 it should come. Let's say if I am passing 4 over here. So it is going to say first, second and third. So first, second, third index will come. So let me just change it to 3. So right now, since I want just two elements in my array, that will be index 1 and index 2. So I'm just going to console extracted array. So if I refresh, you guys can see two elements are there, that is white and orange. That was actually present at first and second index. The second parameter, the second parameter that you are passing here, that is 3, that will not be included in the output, but -1 will be there, that is second index will be there. Next we can reverse an array. This is very easy. Simply you just have to do your array dot reverse. So right now I'm considering a array of numbers. So console.log of now. So here we can see our array elements are reversed. This was my original array. This one, this is the array we have considered for this example, and this is the output. Now we have one more method, that is if you want to get the particular index of a element. Let's say color dot index of, let's say I want to get the index of white color. So you can have that as well. So here you will get index of white is 1, which is absolutely correct. So this is how we can use these array methods. There are a lot of array methods definitely, but these are majorly the main ones. And then there are the methods which were introduced in ES6 that we are going to see in ES6, which are very huge and good advanced methods like filter, map, all those we are going to see that in ES6. But in JavaScript these were introduced, and these are the major ones that you should know. And these are few pointers that you should always remember in arrays, that arrays doesn't support named indexes. That means index value is going to be a integer value like 0, 1, 2, 3 in that form, not a string value, not a boolean or any other index, not even a name. It is always going to be a number integer value. And arrays are basically special kind of object with numbered index. Even if you see, both the arrays and objects have one common thing, that they both store the multiple data types in a single variable. But definitely both have different methods, different advantages, but you can think of arrays like a special kind of object with numbered indexes. And return type of array object is always going to be object. This is important from interview point of view as well, that if you have an array and if you have an object, how can you verify that it's an array and object? So for array especially, we have a method that is array. So this is the data types in JavaScript. So this is a very important topic because these are the basics of a JavaScript. So you should know what methods, what data types we have. So this is about the data types in JavaScript. Thank you so much for watching my videos. I hope you all are enjoying this series. Let's crack it with Urvashi, and it is helping you a lot in learning JavaScript with a new perspective. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share my channel with your friends, family, aspiring developers, and working professionals. And don't forget to check out my interview preparation material. I've added the description below, so do check that out. Thank you.